Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mortal Masters Podcast, your host, made of course. Um, First and foremost, I want to thank all the supporters, listeners, people who share the podcast, big supporters of the podcast, watch the podcast, talk about the podcast, ask me questions about the podcast, want to start a podcast because of my podcast, or wants to ask me questions about starting a podcast because I do a podcast. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Shout out to everybody. Much love for everybody. Um, the last episode did really well. Once again, shout out to all y'all that continue to support and share the podcast week in, week out, and that support me and that give me the energy, the feedback, the just the push to go forward and do these episodes week in, week out. Because definitely, when you're busy, you need that push to tell you that you're doing something right to keep going. And so shout out to y'all, man. I want to start this off with. I'm gonna start off with this. Shout out to Ken Macon. I know I speak about him a lot, but that's because he's near and dear to me when it comes to all things really, but all things life. But definitely when it comes to podcasts and media, journalism type of things. He asked me a question. I know he probably like, damn, man, never respond to text messages. I just didn't have an answer, and he asked me, what I was trying to do with More Than a Master. Like, where did I see More Than a Master in a few years? And to be honest with you, that's a question that I'm kind of battling with myself because I'm at a point in life where right now I'm successful, outside of, podcasting and doing what I do there. But I'm also, I know that without that, I can probably be a lot more successful within podcasting, journalism, media. But, one hand wash the other right now for me. I'm not going to hold you. So it's kind of it's tough to answer that question because I know the answer. I would love to just be 100% this. I love doing that. I'll be in the studio all day with no problem. I would love to do that. But bills need to be paid. There's a lot of people that rely on me to do what I'm doing and to come through. Not just my kids included. So that's a tough question, bro. But to answer the question, what I can tell you what I would hope. I would hope to just progress. So whatever I'm at now, I would hope to be further along in 5 years, but not just 5 years worth. I'm thinking 12, 13, 15 years worth because I feel like I do, more than the average person when it comes to, what I put into what I'm doing as far as energy, as far as the craft and crafting, my profession and making it a profession. When you think about the time I've been doing it and what I'm doing. So yeah, I would love to have an answer for that question, bro. And I don't like answering things like that and saying I don't know. And then you might have converse about it because I know what I should be doing. I know where my heart is probably at, but there's always that balance of heart and just what needs to be done. And I know what needs to be done. I know what position I'm in and what role I play within my family, within my circle, and all those that depend, rely, and count on me to make things happen. So, podcast aside, that's a tough question to answer when a lot of things are just on your shoulders, So yeah, that wasn't ignoring you. Just that question had me in deep thought. Like, damn, what do I want to do? Like, what do I want to do with this? I done invest a lot of money into it, and honestly, if I never make it like past what I'm doing, I'm just like kind of locally known for this. I'm cool with that. I just have to keep what I'm doing on the side and make that my profession because I love being who I am outside of the podcast, but I also love being who I am when you think of just podcasting or think about just media and putting that kind of content out. I love both of those people. They're the same person. One's Bobby, one's, but I love both of them. They both equally yoked to me. So speaking of, man, and this is the real reason why I even came and recorded today. But I got something special, I think, for y'all if everything go through. So hopefully this episode goes how it's supposed to go. Man, speaking of being one person outside a podcast or being, I ain't gonna say I'm the same. Speaking of people knowing you outside of podcasting and people knowing you podcasting or people knowing you on social media and knowing you in real life. Speaking of those split personalities or the tale of two tales, whatever you want to call it. Man, craziest thing happened. Well, it wasn't the craziest thing, but a crazy thing happened the other day, 2 days ago. Today's Tuesday, Monday. So I went to Jamaica Way. So shout out to Jamaica Way, first of all. I know, I make a lot of jokes. I know I make a lot of jokes. I know I say they take a long time for the food. I know, and I'm not saying that I say as if I'm lying. It's just the facts of my reality. But I joke a lot on social media, and then that goes into what I was saying about the whole, being known here and then being known there, because sometimes those roles cross each other, right? And you got to be faithful to one, when the side meets, and I'm kind of true to who I am. So I was in Jamaica Way, and I come in. I'm gonna just bring you. I'm gonna tell you the story, and then I'm gonna tell you what I wanted to tell you. So I'm in Jamaica Way. I go online. It's kind of crowded in there. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go in Jamaica Way. I'm standing in line. And it's a lady sitting in the corner. She goes, "I know you," and I'm like, "You know me?" I just got off work, so I'm kind of tired. I'm just like, "You do? From where?" And she goes, "You're Bobby." So I said, "Okay, cool." She don't know me. My name not Bobby, but I get it. It's social media. That's the tale of two sides, split personalities. Some people know Bobby, some people know May, and we go from there. So I said, okay, and she tells where she know me from, but it's my turn to order, so I'm not even at that point. I'm not even listening. I'm just like, okay, and I go ahead and order my food. So she gets up, she goes to the back. I said, oh, she work here. I ain't thinking. I still ain't thinking nothing of it at all. Like zero at all. I'm not thinking nothing at all. I wait. So I go to. I'm sitting in the back. So finally, she brings the food out. She says my name, brings the food out, and she goes, "Hey, yeah, I know you." So I just said, "Hey, where you say you know me from again?" Because I didn't hear what she had said. And she's like, "No, this social media. Remember you said that people's gonna wait 45 minutes to get drunk for their food." And then right then I said, "Oh, okay." She's aware of my comments about this establishment, right? So yeah, we talked, and we talked about maybe about 5 7 minutes. We spoke. It was very uh light conversation, lighthearted. It wasn't like, no, not being mad, not being fussy, not, make sure you go say this or make sure you go say that. It was more so really consumer to a business owner, like, hey, this is, what I'm trying to do. I know this is what you do. And, I think we can kind of, and if you can also say the good, don't, she didn't tell me to stop saying what I'm saying. This is why I respected the conversation. She didn't tell me to not say anything bad about Jamaica Way. She didn't tell me to take anything down I've said about Jamaica Way. She didn't have an attitude, no aggression. She simply just explained, their journey and some of the things they've been up against as far as COVID, the dining in, and trying to revamp the establishment, trying to change the perception that they have, the what's the word I'm looking for? The just change everything, anything that's attached to Jamaica Way that's negative, trying to flip that and change what they're doing. And I respect it. I'm like, okay, cool, I got you. And I talked, and I told about the times that I waited for a long time, and the times this happened, and the time the food wasn't right here, and I didn't ask for no discount. I didn't get a discount. However, what I did get from Jamaica Way that day was, I would say, A1 customer service, and I respected it because she could have just not said anything and just let me be, but she didn't. This person, and I don't know if she want to name out here, so I'm not gonna say it, but it's establishment. I'm gonna say Jamaica Way. Jamaica Way. They saw a problem. They said, okay, cool. This person has expressed he's waited a long time for his food. This person has expressed that this wasn't right when he got his food. This person has expressed that X Y Z. Then they for me come in, and they made sure that the things I expressed, I didn't experience this time. And I gotta give a shout out and kudos to them for even doing that. So shout out to Jamaica Way. Hold on, let me turn it up, man. Yeah, there you go. Come on. Shout out to Jamaica Way because didn't have to do that. Could have maybe wait longer. Could have, did anything. Like, could have been mad. It wasn't that. It was just more of a smooth, genuine conversation. And like, just make sure, if you can, like, I know you're going to do what you're going to do. You got your own platform, this, that, and third. But also just, if you know when you can, like if you have a good experience, say that as well. And that's why I was like, I gotta find time to record, set this down. I have to speak on this because a lot of times us as media personalities having platforms, I know of me for a fact, I joke 24/7. I love joking. I joke all the time. Um, I'll tell y'all when Popeyes got a long line. I'll tell you Popeye got a short line. I'll tell you when McDonald's mess my food up. I'll tell you that I'm in and out of McDonald's. I'm pretty consistent on that. However, the funnier jokes, the thing that garner the most attention is always when it's negative. So I wanted to kind of just talk about my experience with Jamaica Way in a positive light. So once again, shout out to Jamaica Way. I went in, I got my food in about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes of that, maybe 10 minutes. Everything was right. The rice was, my daughter said the white rice was amazing. She asked me where I got it from. So I could tell she knew there was a difference. The chicken was good, wasn't too spicy. Wasn't a bunch of gravy on my rice and just made my rice look watery and like that. Everything was perfect, exactly how I would want it any given day. So definitely shout out to Jamaica Way for that. I want to put that out in the ether. That definitely I would never tell somebody not to shop at a spot. Go check Jamaica Way out. Give them a second chance. If you have experienced poor customer service, give them a second chance if they do right. I want to start doing that too. When companies in these places, whether it's a small company, a big company, when you have a good experience there, let's be as loud about our good experiences as we are about our bad experiences. Because these companies do go through it. I work at a company where people only put surveys in when they're upset. So in order to fight against that, you got to make sure every single person that has a pleasant experience talks about it. And if they don't, you in hot water because the company doesn't want to have a negative rep. So if you that one store that got 10 negative comments, you got to get about damn near 90. It seemed like 90 positive comments just to be just at the bar, not exceed, just be at the bar. So I spoke to her about that in my and stuff I do outside of podcasts and outside of media and what I do and some of the things I'm up against working in retail as well. So definitely shout out to Jamaica Way, man. Those things like that, like when I spoke about it in the beginning about Ken saying, what you want to do with your podcast, things like that I want to do. I want to be able to be a voice for the city, not just put people onto who's doing things in the city, not just tell people a story of who's successful, who got a nice story in the city and compelling story. I also want to put my handprints, on the city with, hey, you should go here because da da da. I want to do reviews on events. I want to do reviews on food spots, on places I eat. I ain't saying I got treated like a star. I don't fly with no star. I ain't saying I want free food. I pay for my own food, but I do want to be able to be a voice for damn near all things Augusta. Honestly, I'm just keeping it a buck with you. That's what I like to do. I don't know how lucrative that would be, but I'm super big on influence. I feel like I'm super heavy on influence right now. That's where my mind is at right now. So yeah, man. Shout out to Jamaica Way. That was a funny experience, man, because you don't really know the effects of the words you have, which is why you can't just go around saying anything. So I joke a lot. Anything I said was in jest. We had a good conversation. I never say nothing I feel like that would make a business go out of business. I'm typically just joking most of the time because I'm not really mad at that point. But definitely going forward, I'm still going to joke. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still going to joke. If I was to go to a spot tomorrow and I wait a long time, I'm probably going to talk about it. But I do want to start being just as loud with my positive experiences as I am my negative experiences. When I go to Jamaica Way, or if it's another spot, or if it's a store, a Dollar General, whatever, and it's like it's no line, no waiting, and I'm in and out. They got what I want. I want to start to be able to talk about that as well, because so often we only complain. We only loud when we complain. We're not loud when things go typically the way they're supposed to go. But in society we live in right now, things aren't always going the way they're supposed to go. So it's kind of hard to even determine what is supposed to go, at this point now. So we got to be just as loud for the positives as we are when it's negative. And that's just, it's the bottom line. When you have good customer service with Black businesses, you got to go ahead and say it, because it's so many times where Black businesses have a hiccup, have a failure, have a missed hit or something like that, or they don't reach a certain criteria. Maybe they had poor customer service, didn't answer the phone, didn't do the right business, didn't know something, and they'll get blasted on social media. But then that black business that's doing everything right, that's hitting every single pinnacle they need to hit, that's doing things right, sometimes don't even get talked about. So we gotta be just as loud for the negatives. I mean, so just as loud for the positives as we are when it's negative. And I'll be the first to say I can take any criticism, whatever. Shout out to Jamaica Way. And I wasn't asked to do this. By mind you, I wasn't asked to do this. It's just something I want to do because I feel like, like I said, I got a voice and I want my voice to be heard. I want to use my voice for the right things. Just like I have joked, I have said things in the past about the food, about the service, and I've said both positive and negative, but I want to be just as loud with a positive. So this is my just as loud, good production, good lighting, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to y'all, man, Jamaica Way. Go check them out, Tobacco Road, man. Great food. Like I said, the food was good Monday, had A1 customer service, and that was also just a thing with the social media versus real life. So she said, I know you're Bobby. It's not my name, but you do know me. So shout out to you. Yeah, man. People watching. And that's a good thing. Those are also good gauges for like what I'm doing. People watching, your voice is being heard, not just on the podcast side, not just on the media side, but even the jokes you do. It's funny when I left Jamaica Way too, she went ahead and like liked like 3 or 4 posts where I talked bad about Jamaica Way. I know somewhere somehow I got some good ones, but I think all my good ones are on Snapchat because when it's good, I'm posting the food and all that. Like I said, I'm just as loud. Anybody know me when it comes to food? I am super loud when it's good food, when it's good service. And I'm super loud when it's bad food, when it's bad service. So I'm going to keep it consistent and we're going to do that. Maybe she didn't see that part. I don't know. But once again, it's the last time I say, shout out to Jamaica Way. I had awesome A1 service. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to think I'm loud from now on. If I have good service somewhere, I'm going to say it. If I have bad service somewhere, I'm going to say it. And from this point on, we're going to be consistent. All right? What I'll do, I'll wait for that person to call. So there's this thing going around on social media right now. It's a video of what I'm hearing. I don't know what I'm hearing. Allegedly, there's a substitute teacher and a student that got into a fight. I don't really care about what it's over because once it's physical, it's like it's really hard to determine who's wrong, who's right. It's just the physical part is all I care about. But the video goes, the teacher ends up fighting the student, and it has social media in the chokehold right now. Even a lot of adults, youngins, like it's the whole from ages like damn near 12 to 62. It seems like, you got the old head saying back in my day and got the new head saying, nah, in this day and age, you can't do this, that, and third. So I wanted to talk about that. I want to bring a teacher on and just give her perspective on it, ask a few questions. But shout out to Delvin Davis, man. Delvin is somebody who I look up to, man. He had a great, amazing run in media. He's still doing this thing now. But when they had 520 Radio, they had the streets of Augusta in the chokehold. But he posted, I feel like he went a little too hard. He said, man, a lot of y'all can't keep a good woman or a good man because your kids are little pieces of shh. Del, come on, man. Not the kids. You gotta let the kids live, bro. What's up? But not too much on Delvin, but I think that people are tackling this situation from all angles, whether it's the kids, whether it's the parenting, whether it's the school system, whether it's the teachers, whether it's professionalism, whether it's just how you're raised, your parenting skills. It's being tackled from all angles, which it should be. It should be looked at from all angles as well before you make a complete assessment, But, one thing I can say is this, man, I want to, before I leave, in my opinion, I want to have my guests on first, but this is what I'll say. When I was younger, in 9th grade, so about 04, 05, but we had a substitute. Now I'm from New York, so I was in New York at the time. I did some high school in New York. And we had this teacher who you can clearly tell who was from, he was Indian looking or, just Arabic. Let's say Arabic. He was Arabic. So at that point, 9/11 had passed about 3-4 years ago. Of course, that's not something you just get over. People like that had a very rough time in New York. if you owned a mom and pop shop or a corner store, whatever, you had a rough time in New York. So imagine him in the middle of Brooklyn, the heart of Brooklyn, dealing with these 14, 13, 14, I was 13 ninth grade, so 13 through 19-year-olds just substituting. Man, rough, man. I mean, I seen people throw textbooks at him. I'm talking about back in the days, textbooks back in the days, you know they had mad extra pages for no reason. It ain't stinked, but that's not neither here nor there. They was heavy and they hurt it. I've seen people I would see people throw textbooks at him while he on the port, throw paper on him. They'll make planes like, don't you like planes crashing into the buildings, all that stuff? So like they'll do all that stuff, and I have to give it to him, man. His level of professionalism was like way up there, man. Cause he never yelled at us. He never put his hands on us. He never accosted us, and he just took it all in and was super professional. I couldn't have that level of professionalism at all, but kudos to him. I'm only saying to say, man, I've seen stranger things. That's all I'm saying. I ain't saying that this person right, this person wrong. I've seen stranger things when it comes to the school system, substituting kids and their behavior versus, a teacher and their professionalism. I've seen stranger things, man. So I don't know. I think everybody got their own take on it. What I will say is this, before my guests come on, I'll say this. I think that there's no party right in this situation. I'll start from there. There is not one party in this situation that's right. Not the student, not the teacher. Okay? I don't know this young lady's or this older woman's background. I don't know their parenting. I don't know how they was raised. I'm not going to dig into all that like everybody else was digging into. And I don't want to always. I think it's hard. It's not fair to make permanent judgments on someone's upbringing, on someone's parenting, and all of that for or based off a 30-second or 2-minute video. I don't think I can just tell me a 30-second video of maybe you having a bad day shouldn't be the end all be all, and it shouldn't be where my judgment ends with you. I don't think that's fair. Let's say you had a bad day that day. You had a bad day that day, and I see a 45 second video, and you did something that just seems like, damn, do you have parents? I don't want to make a judgment saying you don't have parents. I don't want to make a judgment I don't want to make a judgment on your parents and saying, you're not parenting your child right. That ain't my place. I think that, when we make these calls and we talk on social media, once again, not knowing our voice, and I think that's kind of a thing too in your media. You start to know your voice, so you start to look at things differently and you talk about things differently. So for me, I'm not going to judge that teacher or that student or their parents or their upbringing or people around them. I don't know. Short video, no real backstory. It's a bunch of he say, she say. So it's kind of wild that it got social media in such a chokehold when we don't have all the facts. We don't have anything. We just going off of a narrative. And that's the thing with social media right now. Like, we get a narrative and run with it. It's like, oh, I'm going. Like, that's crazy. I was fast right there, wasn't I? I was kind of fast. Oh, nah, that was kind of slow. But it's a narrative. So I don't know. But like I said, from what I saw, what I seen in concrete, what I can see on video, student definitely wrong. One, you don't approach adults that way. You don't approach people of authority that way. You just don't do it. Hello? That's how you can do it. All right, cool. Without further ado, I'm gonna bring my guests on. I got I'm not gonna say your name, if that's fine with you.
Okay.
They know who you are,
Yep.
it doesn't matter, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, she's a teacher. So and y'all know the voice because your voice is very distinctive. Ma'am,
Okay.
I'm gonna say ma'am. I'm trying to say your name. I'm not used to doing that. So yeah, let's get into it. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You know you always loud.
Okay.
All right, cool. So not too much on shit. But I wanted to talk to you about, the situation. I know you went live earlier today and you did your own dissertation on it, which I thought was really good, by the way. I wanted to break it
Thank you.
down because you are someone in that field, and I feel like a lot of times we have these opinions, we have these uh, uh, takes rather off a narrative for one, but secondly, we have
Right.
these opinions and stuff on a profession that we're not even in, so we can't really give.
Right.
Not saying a valid opinion, but we can't give it can't be taken at face value because we haven't in that position. We saying what we would do, what we should do, but we don't know the rules,
Right.
the
But you can't
regulations.
give like your personal opinion because you've never been in that. Yeah.
Right, right. So I
Hmm.
want to start on first here. I want to say this, and you could tell me yes, no, whatever. Do we know? Do we even know the actual real, like for real facts of anything surrounding this 30, 45-second video?
No, it's a lot of hidden variables that we not sure about. All we are assuming is based on the context of the video. The lady took her phone. The little girl wanted the phone back, and it was an altercation.
Okay,
That's all we know.
but we don't know no huge backstory. We don't know their backgrounds, anything. If anybody is on medication, if they just a bad student, they got a history of
Right.
hitting. We don't know none of this stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. So before I dive deep into your opinion, I want to ask a few more questions. Is it
Okay.
fair? Would you say it's fair rather to make assumptions on the parenting of, let's say, said child, or the background of, let's say, said substitute teacher, without having any, off a 45-second video? Like, me personally, I don't
No.
think it's fair. I think, what if that student just had a bad day that day? We don't know what was going on.
Right.
This
Right.
could
No,
be
it's
out of
not
character.
fair. It's definitely not fair. Right.
And
And
I,
like I said, we don't know. And not to cut you off, like for example, one of my teacher friends that watched the video, she was like, "You don't know if that was a long term substitute because a lot of times when people think of substitutes, you think, oh, they was just there for that day.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean? But sometimes you have a long term sub that could have been there all week, or she could have been filling in for a teacher all month. You know what I mean? So this could have been something that was stirring up that we may not know about because we're going based off on a 45-second video.
My That's my thoughts exactly. And I know we were talking about the right or wrong. We were talking about that, and that's honestly, that part is really quick to me. But I
Mm-hmm.
just I just thought, like, when I seen all these takes and opinions, which granted I agree with. I mean, I don't think I really disagree with too many people. I just think that we're making these big takes off a narrative that we don't know to be true, and
Right.
and then we're assuming that a kid don't have this kind of parents, and we're assuming. And I think then it turns into, when when you don't agree with somebody's take or opinion, now you're criticizing that person parenting. I've seen people
Yes.
say, if you think this, that means your child is this, and that's crazy as hell to me. So because I think, if I thought the teacher was wrong, I mean, if I thought the teacher wasn't wrong and they're in the right, if I thought that, or if I thought they was
Mm.
wrong, I don't see how you can kind of judge, like, my parenting, or my ideologies in life. Hell, they ain't my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
Right. Because my kid know better. Yeah. I think a lot of times people, social media is a hell of a drug. And sometimes people get on these platforms and make these takes, but then when somebody disagree with them, it's like they take it personal.
yeah,
When, at the end of the day, we can always agree to disagree. A lot of times people saying, the student was wrong. I would have whooped her behind too. But then as a parent, it's like, what do you do if you get called to the school, finding out that, this lady done jumped on your daughter, and then once you see the video, it's like, now this definitely could have been avoided. But,
right,
I done seen a lot of takes. Some I commented on, some I didn't. Because, people get so touchy-feely when it comes to, opinions on Facebook. But I personally feel like if we wasn't there, we can't really make assumptions. We can just kind of say, well, if I was, or, if that was my child, this is how I would have reacted.
right. So I want to get into that now that you made a good segue. So, you being a teacher,
Mm.
that requires, in my opinion, Jesus Christ, that requires so much
Ooh.
level, such a high level of
Ooh.
professionalism that I know for a
Absolutely.
fact that I do not possess. Me personally, at least I don't think I possess it. But I'll let you get into that more. Describe that for me, if you don't mind, like in relation to the video course. Talk about that level of professionalism that you must carry. You have to carry as a teacher. I'm saying teacher, even though I know she was a sub. But if I correct me if I'm
Right.
wrong, subs are still supposed to treat students the same way teachers treat students. Or am I wrong?
Right. Yes. No, you're right.
Okay, cool. So we'll just
Um,
say teacher. I don't care about the sub. We'll say teacher.
when it comes to professionalism, I think a lot of times people forget that teachers are human. So, of course, I'm going to be professional, meaning, I'm going to take care of this child, teach this child and things like that. But when it comes to students violating teachers, I think a lot of people think that teachers are just supposed to take the L and move on. You know what I mean? And like in my video earlier, I said that a lot of schools don't protect their teachers. So it's like we can have all the professionalism in the world, but if you're not protected by the people that you work for, why should you stay professional? You know what I mean?
No, I
Now,
agree.
the lady being a substitute, she ain't really got nothing to lose because most substitutes, they're hired by like a temp agency anyway. So it's like, okay, I get fired from this. I can just go get another job, somewhere else. Um, but it's a lot of patience that come with being a teacher. From personal experiences, like matter of fact, today I had a little boy who was being very rude, very disrespectful, not to me, but to another teacher. And the little boy told the teacher, "You better not touch me." And so she was like, "Well, I ain't your mama." He was like, "I know you ain't my mama." And it's just like, oh, you just wanna,
But hey, but you,
smack them.
hey Shay, I want to say this. If you was on social media today, the streets is saying it's okay to slap that kid.
But the streets are saying that, but then when that mama get called saying that somebody slapped her son, now she coming up there ready to fight.
Right. So my thing was that, of course, I'm being funny. I don't think a teacher should, do all that. But I'll say this. I think sometimes we take, and you let me know if I'm wrong, I think sometimes we take that, I'm a firm believer in it takes a village, but I do think
Yes.
there are ways to go about it. Meaning that a village don't mean that if you see, my kids doing something bad, to slap the hell out of them. That don't mean that.
Right.
I mean, by
Right.
all means, tell them, point in the right direction, put them in the right path. But I'm not walking around giving everybody in a village the keys to slap my kid or put hands on my kids.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say the village that we used to have is pretty much null and void nowadays. I think a lot of times nowadays we lack accountability that we used to have. So it's like, yeah, people say, oh, it takes a village, but it's like teachers don't even have the permission from parents to reprimand their child. You know what I mean?
When you
Even
say,
if it's not putting.
hold on, Shay, when you say reprimand, like describe that. I want to make sure I'm not, that me or the audience isn't getting confused by what you're saying.
For example, if your child is misbehaving, or if your child is kind of out of order, or say your child did make an attempt to, harm me, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just let them be disrespectful? Am I supposed to just let them, talk to me any kind of way? Or am I supposed to speak up and kind of get on their behind? Because a lot of times as a teacher, I've corrected students and then they went home and told their mama, oh, well, Miss So-and-so said this and that to me. And don't get wrong, I wasn't disrespectful. But then the mama calling me, oh, well, if my child ever do something, you call me. You don't say nothing to my child. Well, why is your child in my class if I can't even, correct them when they mess up? Because if that's the case, you should be homeschooling your child.
Now I understand what you're saying now. Okay, I get what you're saying now. I got you. Like you just saying, you're not saying you want the green light to slap them or hit them or harm them. You just saying like, as a teacher, you should be able to teach. But I mean, that's what
right.
it is. I should be able to teach. Hey, that's wrong. That's not right. This is how I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
But, so you have parents that sometimes get mad at you for doing that.
Absolutely. Even if it's
crazy.
like a simple, Oh, she couldn't participate in recess today, because she was misbehaving. Well, why my child couldn't go to recess today? Because, ma'am, she was putting her hands on other people. She wasn't listening. And then the parent, you not mad because of something academically. You mad because she missed recess. But you're not even addressing. You're not even addressing the real problem, which is her behavior. You know what I mean? So
Right.
It's like, as a teacher, it's like it's no need for me to even say anything. So that's why you have those teachers who just kind of, they just be there.
Real quick, Shay,
Because
real quick. Hey, you mentioned something, and I want to make sure that I'm painting this picture like right. 'Cause I know you do this on a day in day out basis, but you mentioned sometimes the teacher not getting support, whether it be from the parents or the school, and I mentioned professionalism. How much does the lack of support from from the parents or from the school or just from certain situations not knowing how to handle them? Because I don't like even we'll get into the actual situation from the video, but it's certain situations that there's no real guideline on how you should handle certain things. It's just, I guess it's just spoken like if y'all supposed to know how to do it.
And it's not, because let me tell you, the training of a teacher, depending on how you even got into the profession, you have some people that went to school for sociology or went to school for accounting or whatever, and they just kind of got into the teaching profession on a waiver. So they didn't even go to school for education, really. And the training that we do get going through the education school is they give you a classroom management class, which is basically like, oh, if they sleeping, just kind of let them sleep. It's a class that kind of teaches you to pick your battles, but it doesn't put you in real life scenarios to say, okay, if this happens, how you gonna react? They don't give you like real live situations.
Very mild.
They make you very, very mild, and then they give you like the ethics test where it's like, okay, now if this happened, this is what you should do. But a lot of times as teachers, when we come fresh out of school, we in these schools around kids that some of us have never really been around. Like the school I'm at now, don't get me wrong, I'm from South Florida and I was raised in the hood. But these kids now, I've never seen kids so comfortable cursing out adults. You know what I mean? So it's like you put us in situations and we don't have a clue how to figure it out.
Well,
until something happens.
Let me ask you, what was your thoughts on, or what are your thoughts on the criticism that teachers receive, or I'm gonna just say that this teacher received from what you've seen, not necessarily negative or positive, but what are your thoughts on any criticism that you received from your social media that you saw today?
It's a lot, because some people, went very, mild on the criticism, like, oh, she could have did better, oh, she should have known better. But then you have some people that's really getting very like vulgar and disrespectful, and it's like, y'all really judging her like that based off a 45-second video. And I think the biggest thing was, her not having on the proper underwear or whatever. That was the biggest thing that most people was focused on.
Yeah, I'm most people, but go ahead.
But yeah, I think they went too hard on her. I honestly think that.
So, all right, good. I'm glad we talked, that piece. But I want to. So, what are your thoughts on the video? Like, let's get right into it. Wrong, right? Who's right? Who's wrong? Who, like, give me your synopsis on the video.
They're both wrong. The teacher is definitely wrong because, yeah, they both are wrong. The student definitely could have kind of stayed in her place. She should have stayed at her seat or whatever.
There you go. Go ahead.
All right. My synopsis on the video. They both are wrong. Like I said, a little girl, she was wrong for cursing, for saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that," and then actually swinging. That's why she was wrong. Because she could have just stayed in the child's place and been like, okay, she took my phone. She don't give it back. She's not going to keep it, for the rest of the year. She was going to give it back. So it wasn't even that serious. Now, the teacher was wrong because, for one, the little girl said the rules didn't apply to nobody else, so why you taking my phone? And like I said in my video, teachers can be bullies too. You know what I mean? So if you didn't take nobody else's phone, why you only took her phone? You know what I mean? Is this something that you had against her? Or did you want to make her an example to the class?
And that's why I
If
was
you
saying that's why I was saying, like, we need to know more of the backstory before we give like full opinions, because like, let's just say that's not even true, or let's say that is true, and, that might alter somebody's decision, or the how they feel about the situation.
right, and then also the teacher was really wrong because for one, if you read her body language when a little girl is trying to get her phone, she is like super aggressive.
Right.
Like you're trying to get her to pretty much hit you.
And that's why that's why I want to talk to you about like the professionalism, because do you like, if you had this rate on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate? I mean, not the fighting part, before the fighting part, of course, but all swinging aside, how would you rate?
A 0.
Okay.
A 0.
And why?
Because like I said, she was very aggressive towards the little girl, and she even before the swinging happened, she pushed the little girl. Like she pushed her arm. She was like, "Girl, you better back up." So I felt like that just kind of gave the little girl the energy. Like, okay, well, you want to keep pushing on me? Okay, now I'm gonna just swing on you. So the professionalism was a 0, because even if she was just a sub for that day, she should have known better. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, these are children.
I know she a sub, so I kind of would just talk teacher sense, I guess. But let's say I'm gonna use you as an example, right? You being the teacher, you going through the proper schooling and years of schooling. How much, or how, not how much rather, but what's the chances of you risking, all them years of school, off of a situation like this? Like you personally, like, how do you maintain your professionalism in these situations? I know you matter of fact, even from you, maybe not on a one-on-one basis, face-to-face basis, but you have your battles when it comes to teaching and, balancing life and schooling and all that type of stuff, things you can post, can't say. How do you balance that?
Right.
And how do you determine when it's like, okay, my career is more important than this, or it's more important to be professional than, going about it this way? How do you balance that, and where do you get that from?
I definitely, well, for one, I genuinely love kids. So it takes a child, like it takes a lot to get me riled up. It takes a lot for a child to get me riled up. So when it comes to kind of like keeping my peace and, staying calm, I just be thinking, girl, you ain't even big, you ain't even big enough to really handle me. So I'm not even gonna go there with you. That'd be my thought. I've had kids, 4th and 5th graders where, they done got smart with me, but I just laugh it off because I'm like, girl, you don't even know what kind of beast this is. You know what I mean? So I personally don't really get that upset when it comes to kids being disrespectful. I just kind of pick my battles. Like I said, when it comes to kids being disrespectful or saying something, if I already know that child kind of can go there, I just don't even address that child. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or if it's a situation where I'm like, okay, this can really go left, I just kind of, just be like, hey, put your phone up. I wouldn't even took the phone.
But
because I know that how.
But you just said that you was like, if you know how the kid act, and I don't know this sub. Like I said, we don't know the backstory, so how to tell. But I don't know if this is a brand new sub. This sub been around for a long time. Does she bother them? Does she not bother them?
Mm-hmm.
She got a reputation? That makes a big difference as well. So I don't know what it is, but let's just I don't want to assume, so I'm not gonna say that. But those things are, to me, would be determining factors. She's wrong regardless, but those would be determining factors of me, like just about how wrong the person is, because. Like you said, you're a teacher, so you with these students day in, day out. You like a sub that just coming in may not have that same rapport with those students to know that this student can go there. This student may do this. Some stuff is just really you're just testing it that day, so you don't know. I don't know this situation, but that's why I also feel like it's super hard for people to have these real strong, heavy opinions on the situation without us knowing all this stuff. We need to know all this information because you got these. I'm assuming it's middle school, high school. I don't know what grade it was, but it's hormones involved with them kids now. You know, when you 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, can't nobody tell you nothing. You know it all. You put your pride on the line in front of these classmates. You know, it's like it's a lot that go into that. So I don't know how that would measure up to professionalism.
And then teachers also have outside lives. You know, I try my very best to, if I'm aggravated, you know, with my life, my kids, my boyfriend, anything, before I even get in school, I just go ahead and decompress and leave all that stuff because those kids don't deserve, you know, kind of like they don't deserve me to be acting out over something that they didn't do. So we don't know, that substitute could have already been having a bad day. Who knows? Her boyfriend probably broke up with her that day. You know, she could have had an eviction notice on her door. You know, not saying I would wish that on her, but I'm just saying, you don't know. She could have already been on 10 that morning. So that little girl, you know, coming at her, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm already pissed. So, girl, what's up? You know?
That's facts. That's facts. You're right.
So it's like they want us to remain professional in a profession that has so many changing variables. You know, one day you may have a class as a substitute now. One day you may have a class is really good kids. And then you may go into a school where you got really bad kids. So, you know, it's like, okay, you want me to stay professional, but it's so many changing variables. It's like, you just expect me to just kind of roll with whatever you throw at me when I wasn't even properly trained, for real.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of comes down to.
I'll say this. I don't know the ins and outs of things. I've seen some videos on social media. This one obviously is very popular right now, but I've seen a few over the course of the last few months. I'll say this. Maybe it need to be a certain training. This is my personal opinion. It's going to sound funny, but it got to be a certain training on taking kids' phones and how to react when you do that, because that seems to be the one thing that make them swing on people. It seems it's always a phone involved.
Yes, because, you know, nowadays kids are so attached to their phone.
Well, your life is in your phone.
Kids that's attached. Yeah.
That's your reputation. That's your life. You got things in there you ain't supposed to have. You got secrets in there. It's a lot in them phones, man.
Absolutely. Listen, my principal took my phone today. I kid you not. I was walking down the hallway and I was on my phone and he said, "Hey, give me that." And when he took it, honestly, it didn't make me feel no way because I got a MacBook computer anyway, so I wasn't even impressed. I was like depressed because I'm like, oh, just as soon as I get in my classroom, I'm gonna be right back texting, you know, whatever. But if I didn't have that luxury, of course I'd have been furious because I was like, you know, why are you taking my phone? Like, you know, I got people to talk to, and I got people to text. You know, not knowing that even though I am at work and these kids are at school, you shouldn't even really be focused on your phone. But the way the world is, our phone is our life. So when somebody takes that, it makes us angry because it's like, you shutting off my lifeline right now.
I also want to add that, you know, as a younger kid, you even an hour without your phone feels like forever. And when you don't know, you really don't know. You don't know if you're getting it back. I mean, we could say, you know, she gonna get it back, but, you know, as a kid, you're like, I need it now. Like, your patience is not the same patience as an adult. You don't look like the same way. Everything is in real time, real moment. But like I said, I don't know that student's background. I'm not going to judge the parents. I don't know if parents, you know how many times we was in school and did things that our parents wouldn't want us to do. Like, it's nothing to do with their parents. It's just something I'm just choosing to do.
We're totally different kids outside of our parents.
Definitely.
We're totally different people outside of our parents. And kids are too. Yeah. So I don't want to judge our parents and be like, oh, our parents must be this and that. Because kids are totally different. You know, kids, and we did it, you know, being younger, we used to smoke when our parents went around. We used to drink when our parents went around. We used to cuss, you know.
Yeah, y'all was wild.
Nah, come on now.
I'm messing with you.
But if somebody was to go back and be like, you know, so-and-so, I seen your daughter, you know, with her friends smoking.
Right,
so my mom's like, oh, I know you didn't see my baby because my baby knows better.
Not mine's. You know what I'm saying? That's how it be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not mine, but I'm a firm believer in teaching for the last 5 years. You can never say what your child won't do
true.
because your child will show you up to be a liar every time.
Yeah. Hey, look, Shay, I
Mm.
appreciate you for coming, calling through. I'm gonna put this out probably tonight. You know,
No
I don't play around,
problem.
but I appreciate you, man. You hold it down, all right? You get back to it.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, so real quick, man. Yeah, that was shout out to Miss Good. Dope individual. Go check her podcast out. Good talks with Shay Good. Um, yeah. What I'll say is this ending, man. You know, I don't like to judge off. I don't want to judge somebody too hard off a minuscule video, off a situation I don't know everything about. You know, I don't want to judge somebody parenting because as young kids, we made a lot of decisions, a lot of choices, a lot of things we did. We knew for a fact we weren't raised that way, and we did it anyway. So I will be remiss to judge someone parenting based off a 30-second video that I don't know if that kid had a bad day or just acting out or just rebellious. You know, I don't know. On top of that, you know, what we don't. I don't even want to judge people's opinions. So I think the main thing about this is like anything with social media. Anytime something happens, people get in the uproar. So you have an opinion that I don't agree with. So now I'm not gonna say nothing to you, but I'm gonna judge you, put it as y'all, and I'm gonna make a opinion based off your opinion. So if you felt like the teacher was right or the teacher was wrong, shit the students, and you feel like teacher was right, you're gonna judge me and on a personal attack. Say y'all or hide it with y'all. Put y'all that think the teacher was wrong for hitting the child. Y'all, I'm not judging anybody based on their opinion either. Your opinion is your opinion. In my opinion, the student is wrong, the teacher's wrong. It's a certain level of professionalism you gotta have if you're dealing with kids, dealing with people's kids, and you in that field. Whether you're a sub, a teacher, a janitor, I don't care what role you are in them school systems. It's a certain level of professionalism that comes with that. And you have to maintain it, you have to have it, or get up out of there. You have to be professional at all times. Students wrong because the student got to stay in the student place. You cannot walk up to teachers. They are the authoritative figures in that environment. You can't just walk up on the authoritative figure and swing on them or threaten them. That's not, you don't do that to authoritative figures. The authoritative figures have the authority. And the minute that's not happening, things get in disarray. Things happen. Both wrong. I mean, we can wrap it up now. It's just, I mean, I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest with you. But yeah, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to all the listeners, all the supporters. Shout out to Shay. Shout out to all my supporters watching the podcast, sharing the podcast. I normally do Think Aloud once a week. I think I get a second one. So, that's that. Shout out to Jamaica Way. Great food, by the way. Don't beat me up. But when it's bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad. When it's good, I'm going to tell you it's good. If y'all got some restaurants, any place you want me to go check out, let me know. Put it on the YouTube. Message me. Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever you want to do. More Than Masters podcast. We out. Let's get it.